Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Powerful Stuff, your one-stop shop for self-amusement and converting your awareness and your self-development journey into one big upward spiral of power and play and levity along the way. So today we will be talking about what I have seen all over my astrological algorithm in Instagram, although it's not quite astrology, but rather the Chinese Zodiac, which is exiting the year of the snake and entering the year of the horse. So you might have heard about these already. If you haven't, have no fear, I will explain, but I think it's a great way to kind of contextualize the learnings of this last year and enter into an integrative state of stepping into our power in the next year. So the Chinese Zodiac is a 12-year cycle, and each year has an animal, and it's kind of like an energetic blueprint of the year. And so when you think about the animal, there's different elements and aspects to it which help you work with these different energies of that year. So right now in 2025, we are in the year of the snake, and then in the Chinese lunar calendar, which I think is in February, like February 17th, I want to say, that is when we enter into the year of the horse. So the great news is that if you listen to this episode and it's already after January 1st, you still have time to end this Chinese lunar calendar the way you want to start the next one. And it's a great way to integrate and empower yourself to make the most of the year of the snake into the year of the horse. So the year of the snake, what is it? What a great question. So snake is all about wisdom through experience. It's about shedding things that aren't in alignment anymore, falling away, and really having these quiet internal recalibrations before you enter into the year of the horse. And I'll kind of break each down separately. But the year of the horse is all about freedom within structure, right? So once we've stripped everything away from the year of the snake that's no longer in alignment, we've kind of had these internal brewings and knowings. It's the internal world. And you can really think about the year of the horse being that external manifestation and the outer expression of everything. So wow, guys, if that's not powerful stuff, I don't know what is. And I want to give you a few of my own personal anecdotes of what my year of the snake was. So definitely this year feeling a ton of shedding and internal transformation, obviously, because I am literally 9 months pregnant, 9.5 months to be exact. They say pregnancy is 9 months, but it's really 10 and it's usually 40 weeks. So anyways, I'm 38 weeks pregnant. So obviously a lot has come with shedding my maidenhood identity, right? That element of surrender, of uncertainty of what comes next. I have no fucking idea. I can prepare as much as I can for motherhood, but I literally don't know what's around the corner. And like shedding a lot of the beliefs that I don't want to pass on to my son in this next generation. Beliefs that I've worked hard to get rid of, like kind of like little, even as a leadership coach, guys, those little niggles of like, I am not enough, or like seeing people who had a party and didn't invite me, and like the I don't belong stories come up, even though I have like a whole huge community of friends, right? And so like, I feel like it's been a deepening of a shedding of those beliefs, a shedding and acceptance of like really returning to, what is and not focusing on what isn't. Like this year was a reminder too, to be grateful for all the things that were, all the friends that were, and not all the friends that weren't, or all the people who weren't showing up in the way that I didn't want them to, because pregnancy and motherhood really forces you to get clear on your priorities, who you want to spend time with, all of that. It also was the year that I kind of finalized shedding the full transition of my experience company, more of that with my past co-founder, and merging the things that I had created under more of that into powerful stuff, bringing my experiences into powerful stuff, bringing my podcast into powerful stuff. Those were another form of shedding. And then I think for my relationship, what Spencer and I talked about in a past episode of Powerful Stuff was the idea of, both of our inner children and our old patterns, like needing to be heard, needing to be right. And whenever Spencer and I would get in a fight, it would be like defenses up for like, these are the cases for me. I'm building a case against you, like 10 points for Gryffindor, versus shedding those old dynamics, not holding him to, all of the patterns from the past, and same for him to me, and actually like starting fresh and shedding those old dynamics so we don't, again, carry that into the next generation with our son. So the snake really values things like subtlety over speed, inner work and intuition and discernment, and asking ourselves, where do I feel out of alignment? What things maybe have I done out of loyalty or obligation, but now they no longer feel true? These are all things to ask ourselves in the year of the snake. And it's okay if your year of the snake was a fucking tumultuous ride. Like, I know for me with like my pregnancy hormones, also, oh my gosh, yeah, professionally, like I decided that I am going to transition from, a ton of like high touch one-on-one and small group coaching into speaking and facilitating, which is really scary. It's a new jump in my own professional career, but I hold my clients accountable to growth. So I also have to hold myself accountable to growth, because I've led 11 upgrade group coaching program cohorts, and it's time for me to grow. I was feeling like I was getting stagnant, just like repeating it. And if I want to continue to help impact people with like, whether it's like a larger launch of the upgrade, serving more people, an in-person version of the upgrade, or turning it into like a larger keynote speech, it's like I had to kind of shed that, which is like, I know how to run a good program, I know to have a launch around it, into more of the unknown of like speaking and focusing on this one thing. So that was a big thing for me as well. But all of these things might look not as visible to the outer eye, because at the same time I was shedding the upgrade, I was also thinking about what is my keynote speech. And of course, who I am as a leadership coach is having the serious development tools, but it's also having the levity. And I actually just recorded a podcast on self-amusement is the new self-awareness. Even though it's so obvious to me and my clients who work with me and people who have attended to powerful stuff, I realized to the outside world it wasn't. And it took me like 8 months of talking with mentors, of being in an Experience House mastermind, to come up with this tagline that felt so obvious otherwise, right? And I'm just now putting it out into the world. And so the snake energy that you have is also thinking about this year of like, what were the quiet, subtle shifts that were happening underneath the surface? A snake exposes what's misaligned, and they also don't like act out of haste. They wait until the moment is right. And it's more about like the quiet ending. So my 2 questions for you with the snake, I wrote these down because I came prepared, guys. What did I finally see clearly this year, in the year of the snake, that I cannot unsee? Now that I've seen it, it's out in the open. I can't undo it, right? Like for me, yeah, once I'm on that pregnant train, we are going there. I am heading toward motherhood. What is that version of that thing for you? Or maybe it's something where it's like, whoa, this was really misaligned. I cannot believe I was spending my time this way, or letting myself be valued this way. Whatever that is, really like dig deep and like go through the different categories of your life of like, what were those things? Why was I holding on to them? What was the fear if I didn't let them go? Or if I did let them go, what was the fear? And what is the cost if I didn't let them go? And then within that, it's kind of like, what version of me has quietly expired? Ooh, what version of me is quietly expired? Maybe you're still showing up as like the you that makes people feel comfortable, or that, fits into a certain box at family gatherings or with a certain friend group. But what version of me has quietly expired? Maybe you're kind of just internally sitting with it now, right? In the summer, it's all about this external full bloom energy. And then in the fall, winter, we get into that cocooning moment. So what version of you no longer feels true? And why is that? And it's not to say we're like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, which we would never do, by the way, but rather like they're converting to soil. What parts of you do you want to take with you? And what parts of you are you like gratefully letting go, even if they were parts that were painful or you felt ashamed of at certain points? They helped serve your evolution in some way. So what part are you like leaving behind? And it can leave us feeling disoriented sometimes when we do these sheddings, because it can leave us feeling naked. A metaphor that I fucking love is this idea that we are hermit crabs inside of a shell. And when we are no longer in alignment for whatever reason, that shell starts to feel cramped and constricted and tight. And it's so scary to leave that shell because we're nowhere going to be naked and exposed, or that naked and afraid. But we must leave that shell because we will suffocate. So we have to shed the shell. We have to be completely exposed as we walk to our next bigger shell. But we have to do it. And it's so scary because in that moment, in that transition, in that becoming, we are very exposed. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with us during that time. It's a time of recalibration. It's a time of allowing ourselves to be exposed so we can integrate what has fallen away, and we can go find that bigger shell where we will eventually feel comfortable again, where we will eventually hit that cruising altitude. So those are the two questions for the snake, right? And if we think about the snake, I also just would be remiss if I didn't mention our girl Taylor and her Reputation album with her snake mythology. I just love it because the snake during her Reputation album was all about when she had kind of gone into hiding after she was quote unquote canceled with the whole Kanye West, Kim Kardashian situation, where she was initially on top of the world with her Girl Gang 1989 album. And then Kim Kardashian and Kanye West released this, recorded phone clip of her saying that she could use, that Kanye West could reference her in a track, but it was whatever, a doctored recording. And then everyone had all this Taylor Swift hate. She went into hiding, and then she kind of had this like vision of like, if they're going to call me a snake, then I'm going to own this bad bitch persona. And she completely made it into her whole Reputation album and created this album of like owning that narrative, right? Of like just having fun with that shadow self that had been cast upon her, and like shedding whatever innocent good girl images that came before that Reputation time. And it's not to say she isn't still like that sweet Taylor Swift that we all know and love pre-Reputation, but now she has this added edge to her that had been birthed in that snake mythology. So all of that's to say, what did I finally see this year that I can't unsee, and what version of me quietly expired, right? And then I would also add to that, how am I grateful for the things that I'm shedding? How did they teach me? How did they help me grow? What am I taking with me? And what am I leaving behind? Okay, that's our year of the snake. So now we'll go to the year of the horse, and then we'll tie it all together with a quick meditation as always. So horse is all about momentum and courage and independence. It's about freedom and leadership and action. And the horse takes us from the year of the snake of introspection into expression. And it's scary because we might feel like we need to act before we are ready. And the snake, as I mentioned with the hermit crab analogy, we might feel like we are, new to this thing. We're exposed, we're vulnerable, kind of like me talking about becoming a mom, like, right? I'm going to be a mom whether I'm ready or not. And the year of the snake was like the shedding of the maidenhood. The year of the horse is the motherhood. Whether I'm ready or not, I feel like a noob. It's happening anyways. So the horse is kind of like leadership and freedom, but leadership through action and acting before we might feel ready, which is really scary. And I feel like that, for me, again, going back to my examples, is starting before I'm ready with the speaking and facilitating and just getting on stages and doing it and getting in the reps, and like not necessarily just falling back to what's comfortable with like what I've done with my group coaching program, but challenging myself of like, what is the next bigger step that feels a little bit more vulnerable? And of course, it can only come through taking action and getting those reps in. And again, with motherhood, it's going to be trial by fire. And so even though we might feel exposed, it's a necessary part in the growth process. The year of the horse, mounting our horse, giddying up, if you will, riding off into the sunset, owning our power. And so for the year of the horse, the questions that I want you guys to think about is like, where am I being invited to move to before I feel ready for the year of the horse? So the year of the snake was like, what have I seen that I can't unsee, right? What version of myself am I quietly shedding? And then the year of the horse is, where am I being invited to move before I'm ready? Where it feels scary, but I might do it anyways. And I love this because you've probably heard me say it on Powerful Stuff many times, but Carolyn Elliott says, fear is excitement without the breath. Carolyn Elliott wrote Existential Kink. So fear is excitement without the breath. And when we're afraid, it usually means that we can still act, but we just need to reassure our inner child, I've got you no matter what. We've been in these ambiguous situations before. It's going to be okay. Let me remind you of all the data points of all the times we've acted before and it was actually fine. So we can both relax and we're going to do it anyways, right? It's like, it still might feel scary. It still might feel like an adrenaline rush, like when you are in this cool nature spot and there's a big boulder and you jump into the water, but you like look down before and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so far. And then you count to 3 and you do it anyways. And it's so exhilarating. And then you're like, I'm ready to go again. So it's kind of like that energy for the year of the horse. And then the second question with that is, if I trusted myself, what would I say yes to? If I trusted myself more, what would I say yes to in the year of the horse? What would I claim boldly? What would I take action around? And we can look at, as we step into the year of the horse, where I don't trust myself. And why don't I trust myself there? Usually it comes to not consistently showing up for myself, which is great in a way because that's something that's easily fixable, is just starting to be more consistent with ourselves. And usually it just starts with self-talk or showing up for ourselves for the little things that get us into our being state that make us feel good, like whether it's our morning ritual or it's doing the things that light us up, like playing guitar or going to stand up or painting or whatever it might be. So where don't I trust myself? How could I learn to trust myself more? And if I fully trusted myself, what would I say yes to? And how would that start to shift things? And how can I afford actually not to say yes to things this year? What is the cost if I don't say yes to these things? Right? Sometimes acknowledging the cost of not stepping into our power is like imagining yourself 80 years old being like, I regret this so deeply that I didn't take this big swing. So what is you in that motion of like, okay, I've shed the things, I have the space, I'm going to step into it. It's still going to feel scary. I might be a little messy. I'm going to be a beginner, but actually being a beginner and doing it anyways, that's the only way we become an expert first and foremost. And it is such a high vote of self-confidence, by the way, because it's saying, even if I mess up, even if I fall on my face, I'm going to do this because I know I'm enough. And I know that my enoughness isn't tied to how I perform in this thing. I know my enoughness is tied to just me knowing that I deserve the opportunity to take this swing, me knowing that the outcome of this doesn't determine my worth. And that is actually fucking magnetic, guys. So, it's all about leaving things behind from the year of the snake and then stepping into the future, even when it feels uncertain. And that's the cool thing too. That's the other thing I wanted to mention is in the year of the snake, we know what we want to shed, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll have the exact answer of the next step to take in the year of the horse. It just means that we know what we're shedding and we're okay taking another step in the midst of uncertainty, even if we don't know what the finish line looks like. I always say, like, trust in your ability to take the next step, even if you don't know the finish line, because sometimes it can be daunting to vision into the future. It's like, okay, I'm going to take the next step, and then I'll take the next step after that, and then I'll take the next step after that, and then I'll take the next step after that. And to really focus on how we want to feel in that. And that's why when I do ideal scenes or visioning with my clients, we focus on be, do, have instead of do, have, be. And what I mean by that is most of society operates from I'll do the thing so then I can have the clout, the car, the house, and then I think I'll be happy. But actually we reverse engineer that and we say, I'm going to focus on my being, what makes me feel good, and then I do from that place, which is magnetic. And then I end up having the car, the clout, the whatever, as a byproduct of my joy. And so we vision into the future, like this time next year, for example, and go through an ideal day. But we focus on how my clients feel going through that day, right? I feel expansive. I feel energized. I feel connected to my peers, whatever it might be. And then we reverse engineer that of like, how can we bring those feelings into the present right now? I can prioritize being the catalyst, hosting like a dinner party once a month or whatever it might be. So we come up with like tiny baby steps to get them into that feeling now. And then we kind of flame a fire, right? Or fan the flame, if you will, flame the fire. We fan the flame and we say, okay, if we can take the next step and then the next step after that, and then the next step after that, connected to the feeling, lest we forget, next thing we know, you are living your ideal scene. But it's not because you had to take this insanely huge, like incredibly scary leap of faith. It's because you took those tiny shifts over time and you kept consistently showing up for yourself. And so that's what we want to do going into the year of the horse, is taking those tiny actions anyways, leaving behind, what didn't serve us from the year of the snake, gratefully like having those internal musings from the year of the snake, and then stepping into the year of the horse through allowing ourselves to exist in the uncertainty, knowing that we have shed the things that were misaligned. We are aligned now, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and to be seen, to act before we're ready, and to take the next step, and then the next step after that, and then the next step after that, and then the next step after that. And I always tell my clients too, when you're not sure what to do, invest in yourself. Meaning, if you don't know what the next tactical step is to step into your professional purpose, just do the thing that makes you feel good, like going to the swimming pool or whatever it might be. Because as you're doing the things that make you feel good, again, you're getting present, and that's when like the best ideas come through. So with that, we'll go into a quick meditation. And I really want you guys to think about, what you're proud of from this last year that you've shed. Like, shedding doesn't have to be like leaving us completely bare bone. You can also think about the things that you're celebrating from this last year that you're taking with you that were aligned. How did you show up in the shedding that you're really proud of? How did you, show up in the things that you like really loved, and how did you prioritize those things moving forward too? And then as we vision into the next year, what does that freedom and expansion look like? Okay, so closing your eyes, taking a deep breath in. And let's do horse lips for the year of the horse. Relaxing your jaw. Another breath, breathing in. And this time we'll hiss it out for the year of the snake. From the past. And then a third breath in. And then we'll do a hiss into a horse lip to transition snake into horse. Wow, that's hard to do. Okay. And as you're dropped in to your eyes closed, your meditation, coming into your deep, deep, deep navel center, your Manipura chakra, your seat of your soul. Imagine you're sitting there like you're sitting in a lotus flower. Bringing your breath there to your navel, bringing your attention there. And imagine you have this beautiful full-length mirror there, where you get to see yourself almost like moving through this mirror like a magical flip book from this past year of the snake. Asking it to show you, reflect back to you ways that you've shed certain things that no longer serve. Maybe it's certain friendship dynamics, certain thought patterns or habits of how you were spending your time, or negative belief spirals. Maybe it's shedding like little side quests or distractions that were keeping you from your bigger purpose. Noticing how even though it might have felt like a silent change, you can start to see the energy of that version of you shift. Feeling lighter, more spacious, more vitality come online, more aligned. And just telling that version of yourself, thank you. Reflecting back to them, telling them thank you for all that you've done this year to help me shed these things. And just looking at them and asking them, as if you're also asking your inner child, what do they need from you to step into the year of the horse? What do they need to trust? What do they need to feel seen for? To come with you wholeheartedly into the year of the horse. What does that version of you that you're shedding need to feel honored? Trusting whatever they say, letting them know that you can do that. And then as you give that assurance to them, seeing them shed all of those layers of anxiety, insecurity, misalignment, like they're pulling off a skin. And they reach through the mirror and hand it to you, this old skin. You take it in your hand and you rub it together like you're alchemizing it, transforming it into fertile soil, things that can still be used, taking with you, and then you place it into the earth, into the roots of this lotus flower that you're sitting upon. And instantly as you do it, it's like an earthquake in the most beautiful way. The lotus flower reaches down into Mother Earth, almost like you're deepening your roots, feeling your root chakra deepen into Mother Earth, allowing you to lift your chest like a stallion, lifting, leading with your heart, feeling yourself beautifully transition into that horse energy. And as you feel yourself rooted in that horse energy, once again, looking at this magical mirror, and just like a flip book, but this time going into the future, feeling and seeing you taking action before you're ready in this future. Now that you have the space from the realignment, seeing yourself show up beautifully, courageously, with a little bit of messiness and allowance and play. What kind of swings are you taking in your personal life? Maybe in how you're showing up for yourself, how you're showing up in partnership or in community. How are your relationships even more deep, bold, intimate? How are you showing up in letting your creative voice be heard and seen? Even if it feels messy or you have a beginner's mindset. And as you see these scenes, start to feel your pride well in your heart. Getting even more momentum. As you start to see how it carries you into the next level of self. And you start to serve as a beacon for others and just making your inner child, your future self, all versions of self, so proud of yourself for taking this big swing and seeing it, how it ripples into inspiring and elevating loved ones around you, other people inspired by your journey as well. And as you really sit with this, asking that future you, December 2026, asking them, how do they feel? Just feeling so proud of taking bold action, like stepping into their dreams. Trusting whatever they say. And then asking them, what is the perfect battle cry for this year for you? To remind you to act before you're ready, to say yes, to trust yourself. What is the perfect mantra or word to continue to return to in your heart? Once again, trusting whatever they say. And then finally, what is the perfect next step for you to step into the year of the horse? What is the perfect tiniest next step that gets you ever so slightly out of your comfort zone and into that next version of self? thanking them and feeling your palm reach out to touch their palm in the mirror, feeling this like, again, horse megawatt energy come through the mirror, coming through your fingertips, pulsing through your heart, down your toes, up your nose, up out of the crown of your head, feeling that radiant, powerful horse energy, feeling it grow the lotus flower petals even closer to the sky as your roots are even deeper into the earth, feeling so grateful for your past of the snake, of the shedding, feeling so ready for the year of the horse. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. And then one more breath in. And exhale, opening your eyes, coming back into this space. Wow. Powerful stuff, guys. So go ahead and write down what came up for you, what you are shedding, and what you can't unsee from the year of the snake, how it has served you, how it no longer serves you, why are you gratefully letting it go? And then I would create a ritual around it, write it down, burn it in like a little metal bowl or safely, and, sprinkle the ash in your plants or whatever, or rip it up and gratefully like flush it down the toilet, have some ritual of release around it. And then for the year of the horse, it's what am I stepping into? What am I saying yes to before I'm ready? How can I take messy action? And what would this year look like if I fully trusted myself? And then most importantly, as I always say, instead of KPIs, right? Key performance indicators of all the tactical things we want to manifest, which again is our achiever brain. What is the KFI, the key feeling indicator? You heard it here first. How do you want to feel at the end of the year? And how can you tap into that feeling right now? Because a KFI is way more important than a KPI. And you could also view it like a KFI, like a key fun indicator. What is my path of highest fun this year? Because when I'm in my highest fun, I'm in my highest frequency, and that is powerful stuff. So I want to hear what your KFIs are for this year. In the year of the horse, I want to hear what you're shedding for the year of the snake. And you have everything it takes to step into this next year with so much power. Thank you for being on this journey with me. Keep listening and sharing. That is my biggest hope, is that you share this with someone else who needs a little bit of that extra horse energy in their life. And I will see you next week for more powerful stuff.